And welcome to Apex Esports League. I'm JT. Tonight we're live on iRacing for the Pagnian Imports Porsche 911 Championship, and it is round 3 tonight. We're at WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. So session for tonight, we've got 10 minutes of practice. Weather conditions are mostly cloudy, then there's 10 minutes of qualifying, and the race is 40 minutes, and the cars are capped at 47%, so they will need to pit in to be able to get the car back home. Standing starts with restarts being single file and lap cars to the back. So the standings after round 2, Sebastian Vandel starting to pull ahead with the championship lead, now on 292 points, and that's after his clean sweep after round 2, so taking both pole position victory and the fastest lap bonus points, so having a great outcome for round 2 at the Red Bull Ring GP. We'll bring up the track, so if your driver's already out there, so over in California, USA for Laguna Seca, and then track length is 3.57 kilometers long. So we'll be jumping over onto the track, and then we'll be having co-commentator tonight. So we'll have Ryan with us with some technical issues last week. We didn't get him to join in, so we're bringing him over now. And welcome back, Ryan. Good to have you back after those tech issues last week.
Yeah, it was a bit frustrating, but hopefully it'll be a lot better this week.
And there should be plenty of action to see tonight as well.
Yeah, it's a really hard track to drive in IndyCar on this time, so this will be definitely something to watch tonight.
We've got 12 drivers loading in at the moment. So most of those out on track. A train of KFC cars at the moment. And for those that are joining in on the stream, do hit that follow button if you haven't done so already, so you'll be notified when we go live for all our events. We do go live 7:30 every Monday with iRacing, and then also same time on Thursday with Project Cars too. So we have 4 minutes remaining of practice. First time starting to come through. Cochran blessing us with another new livery this week. He's been getting all the food labels all over the car, so he's running Mountain Dew tonight. It's probably made it a thing for us to check out each week. Had a great battle last week at Red Bull Ring with Jai Schultz until he started to have some bad luck. We saw him drop towards the back and ultimately retired out. Oh, I'm not sure whose car that was. I think it may have been Mark Cochran. It was a green car that just ducked off. A few cars going wide. These track temperatures still quite low. We're at 24 degrees currently. Quickest in practice so far, we've got James White. Banks, second quickest out there. Thanks for joining the stream, Gal and Balaki. Galen here to cheer on Robbie, wants to see him beat Sebastian. It's been a hard one to try and beat. He's been dominating, but he did say it's not one of his favourite tracks here. He's still currently loading in. He hasn't quite joined the session. There's a minute and a half remaining. We've got Sam Tucker joining us tonight as well. Most drivers are getting a time on. Sebastian just loading into the session. So he's only going to get an outlap in. We've just had a car turn around. Just at that pit exit. Still holds the quickest time in practice of 1:22.401. His previous lap was a 1:26.5. Ooh, he locks that up. Damon Cross just brought the car back into the pit. He ended up coming through for third quickest time in practice. Practice session done. Drivers now have 10 minutes to qualify for the race. And there's points on the line here. Looking at 25 points for pole position. We've got Aidan Ford coming second in the championship. But he's not in the session yet. So even if our championship leader Sebastian Vandel doesn't have a great outcome tonight, with it not being his strongest track, he's at least going to be in a good position to be able to get some points and move on ahead. He's quick to get out on the track. So he did miss out on all that practice session. Ourselves with their cars, and we'll jump on board Porsche 911 GT3R for a lap around Laguna Seca. Jump on board with our championship leader. Looks like he's going down the corkscrew at the moment, so he's only got a couple more corners to go until he cuts a new lap. And that will be the first timed lap. Rather wide on that last corner. It's going to cost him a bit of speed for his first time lap. The hairpin, very sharp, throws a lot of drivers off. Nice line, getting a lot of curve to be able to keep it in that third gear under mostly throttle.
No, sorry about that, JT. I'm back now. There's a lot of background noise. I think I've got to back it off myself rather than have background in the background. Hectic corkscrew, he just narrowly avoids contact.
lap still at 122.1. So he takes pole position with that first lap. Blake Urquhart then following in position 2. Should start to see a few more times coming on the board now. It's like a fair few cars may have gone off. Could still be left over from behind in the practice session. Track doesn't get cleansed in between the sessions.
Looks like it's starting to get to the stage where the tracks, well, where the tyres, I should say, starting to warm up so they can start putting down a decent lap time if they can keep it straight.
Yeah, definitely, and already some pretty tight times coming through just for that first time lap as well. Robbie Bradbury and Stephen Banks both sneaking in with a 121. Banks holding that pole. So we may even see a very low 121, Ryan, so it'll be nice to see if they can get that out of these cars.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, definitely on their way. They're going to starting to actually put the hammer down in the next couple of minutes, so hopefully we'll start to see that number come down a fair bit. The track's still really cool, so it's really grippy right now. So hopefully they can keep it straight enough for long enough to get their lap time down.
Yeah, we may see a fair bit of movement yet. We're seeing some slightly slower times by some of the quicker drivers in the practice session. So it'll be good to see if they can pull a wicked one on the course of this lap. And they're only going to get another few laps out of it before the session's done.
But you can see even right now, you're starting to see a lot of drivers trying to, a bit wide of the apex just there. And he's missed that a little bit, hasn't he? But all these drivers starting to absolutely try and get as close to the track limits as they possibly can. Use absolutely all the track protection to try and get their lap time out, because their tyres are starting to warm up now. You can definitely see it with them pushing.
You sure can. Dry having a few little issues, just running off wide. Vandel's moved his way back up. He's gotten down into the 121s. Ooh, he's misjudged that completely. It's going to heavily cost him in the session with only 3 minutes remaining.
Banks has just done a 121 dead, so they're starting to get close to the high 120 bracket if they can get there. He's just pulling into the pits now, Stephen Banks.
It's making himself familiar with pit lane entry. It's going to be crucial to securing a win here.
Oh, it's a bit of a spin for Mark Cochran. He's just gone off the track. He's just reset himself now, but he's had a little bit of a spin. Times now are a 121 dead by Banks, followed by Vandel with a 121.3, then Blake Urquhart with a 121.7 are your top three.
Bradbury's just gone for a slide, makes some front end damage. Blake's moved up into the third position. He's now bumped Bradbury down a spot.
Bit of a spin for Sam Tucker as well, he's just gone off the track. Looks like he's trying to flick it back around though to get back on the track instead of having to go back to the pits and get cold tyres on again, because if he has to go back and get cold tyres, then he won't be able to put another lap in.
No,
another good lap in, that is.
That'll be him done for the session for sure. Looks like he didn't take any damage there. There is a bit of debris spewed across the track at that section as well.
Oh, he's just had a spin on the way into the third last corner too. So
tyres probably a little bit dirty as well. They may be done with. Banks still parked up, so it's probably going to be him done for the session. Vandel going to try and get every little bit of temp into these tyres. This is going to be his last lap.
Urquhart's just bettered his time. It was a 1:21.7, it's now a 1:21.5, so he's starting to close in a little bit. But there is a fair gap between first and third on this one. You saw him round one, they were all really close. So a big spin for Nathan Peters. He's nailed that wall. He's probably heading back to fifth for that one. But round one, there was a huge bugger all split between even the top five. But now there's 0.5 of a second between the top three, and then there's 0.8 of a second to P4. So there's a fair split on this track. Maybe a lot of these drivers haven't had enough practice, just jump straight in and have a go.
And Laguna Seca is also one of those tracks that you either love it or you hate it. So there'll be those few drivers that'll absolutely carve up, and a few that even some of our stronger drivers from most other series may even struggle with. So we may see a little bit of movement around that top end.
That's it. If these times are this far apart, then you know these drivers are struggling. They're going to be absolutely knackered by the end of this race, so anything can happen.
They don't cross the control line all the time to be able to get another lap in, these two. There's enough time for a few drivers to get this final lap done.
A lot of drivers still on track too, so they're trying to use every last minute that they can get to try and get a really decent lap time. You see Blake Urquhart still trying to better his lap. Jai Schultz also trying. Everyone's just trying to get there. Aren't many people at the end of this session.
Most drivers driving the car back into the pits as well, making sure they know where that entrance is, just where they have to pull that car up. This track's rather pushy with the track limits as well. We did see both Jai and Blake last week have to go in and do a stop and hold for too many incident points.
Varndell's still pushing. He looked like he had a little bit of an off track there, but it might have been just enough so he could save his time, but he's still definitely pushing to try and get his time better on the board. He's currently 3/10 or 2.5 tenths, sorry, behind first place. He's going into pits too, so that looks like pretty well everyone off track.
So we have Stephen Banks taking the pole position, followed by Sebastian Varndell, Blake Urquhart, Jai Schultz, Robbie Bradbury, Sam Tucker, James White, Damien Cross, Mark Cochran, Nathan Peters, and then in 11th is Troy Mortensen, and then Philip Buckland. So Banks getting that pole position. So drivers loading into the session now.
There is a really decent gap between the top five. Like I said before, there was hardly any gap in round one, but now there's between first and fifth place, it's 0.7 of nearly 0.8 of a second, so there's a huge gap between the top five.
It is, and then over the course of 40 minutes, I could potentially see if someone gets a real good run, they may even start to lap a good majority of the field.
That's if they can stay on track though. Like we've seen so many spins during qualifying, so imagine how they're going to go over the course of a race. They're probably half naked after qualifying, so they're going to be absolutely rooted by the end of the race.
Yeah, that is for sure.
In the post-race interviews around one, they were saying that tyres weren't a big factor. They weren't a huge issue. Some people were starting to feel it, but they weren't a huge issue. But a lot of them were definitely knackered.
Yeah, these cars aren't the easiest to keep on track. And Laguna Seca is going to put them to a huge test.
Even driving the Mazdas around this track is a massive challenge, so respect to these drivers wanting to get on them in the Porsches, which is extremely hard to drive, even around Bathurst if you got it driving in a supercar, so they got balls, these guys.
Okay, the drivers hit that ready button, except Damien Cross doesn't seem to have loaded in, so he'll be going from pit lane by the looks of it.
Green flag, green flag.
Now, a little bit of a delayed start for Banks. It's going to be an advantage for Vandel.
A lot of drivers sounded like they boxed it down at the start, but it didn't seem like anyone actually got a really decent start in these cars either, so really even to the first corner.
It's a sea of KFC cars right at the front there.
It's really making me hungry at the moment. I'm glad I've got dinner in front of me. Actually a fairly tame first couple of corners, so which is really surprising. Let's see how we go when we get to these next few. These next few are the real
races. Cool tyres still as well, so they do have to remember that. That track temp hasn't changed at all. Vandel gets a pretty tidy line down the corkscrew.
A lot of these drivers, even right now, you can see them trying to force absolutely all the track limits out of it. Even with all these cold tyres, like you can see people even sticking their nose a little bit inside to see if they can try and make a move or try and force the other guys into a mistake. And it's only going into the second lap, so it's going to be a good race.
Both Banks and Vandel actually pulling ahead from position 3. So Blake currently 2.3 seconds away from the race lead. Just look how tight these next few are between Blake Urquhart, Robbie Bradbury, Jai Schultz and Sam Tucker. Oh, Banks just been passed by Vandel.
Vandel, even though he didn't get the fastest time qualifying, he's trying to get as much position as he can. So he'll be trying to fume out the front, get as much time he can behind, sorry, in front of being third as he can.
Banks almost, yeah, gets him at the corkscrew. A little bit of a touch. Oh, I think they're actually locked together. Very interesting to see you pass it on the corkscrew, and it was nicely done. Vandel drops another spot. Squeezed out as Blake takes that racing line. Vandel's going to slingshot out and around, but Bradbury and Jai both looking for that same line. Thanks for following, Black Knight.
Blake and Vandel were really good at, when they were both teammates, they were so good at getting the other guy who is involved to try and get into a battle with them, try and squeeze them both wide so they can both get through at the same time. And it looks like Banks and Urquhart are doing the same thing to Vandel.
Yep.
Bit of side by side between Bradbury and can't see where that is in front of him.
Now Sam Tucker just ahead of Bradbury.
Looked like he was battling with Jai Schultz and just forced him a little bit wide, and maybe Tucker got through there.
And then we've got Damien Cross. Looked like he did start from pit lane. I think he may have had a connection issue. Seemed to have actually vanished out from the gridding. Banks pulling back ahead now. Oh, not now. It's a big slip. He got a little bit wide on that exit corner for the final turn. James White putting some pressure on Philip Buckland at the moment.
Looks like Vandel's trying to make a move back on Urquhart. Just tried to stick the nose on the inside, didn't look like he could get it through enough though, so he's still tucked in behind him. But he's definitely following the pressure on his old teammate.
Those two are always good for giving each other a little bit of a rub. Every so often they will go door to door, no dramas.
Definitely not afraid to push each other wide.
Yeah, I think these two really enjoy pushing each other.
Vandel just went a little bit wide through the second corner of the corkscrew, so you can see how much he wants this. He's trying to push as much as he can out of the entire track, using absolutely every curb and every little bit of grass that he can get away with to get through. Depending on where you drop a wheel off, it might not activate a track boost. So if he's trying to go for the lead, he's going to use as much track as he possibly can, even go on the grass if he can get away with it without getting too much of a fine from it.
That's it. Once they do get that 17 times, they will have to be cautious. They'll see themselves popping a drive through.
Couple drivers still going wide, just a little bit. They're just going a couple of mil over the curving, but you can just see a little bit of dust flick up. But that's what they're chasing. They're trying to get as wide as they can, and they're doing it well without dropping the wheel fully off the track. Once they do that, they're pretty well out of the game.
Sam Tucker starting to close the gap on Jai Schultz.
So even with this big gap of qualifying time, this is really close racing. Might not be too big of a gap by the end of the race if they keep this up, because this is actually really close.
Yeah, to be 4 laps in, I thought we probably would have seen a little bit more spacing. And despite the few lead changes as well, Banks has actually led for the full first 5 laps.
Well, he's definitely crossed the line in first, but he's had a couple of instances where he's dropped behind Vandel a couple of times.
That's it.
But at the moment, crossing the line to the start of this lap, there's only 1.1 seconds between Banks and Urquhart, and there's 1.5 to Vandel behind Banks. So they're definitely keeping it close. You see Vandel closing in as much as he can. He's a lot closer to this lap than he was last lap, so he's going to most likely try and stick it up the inside and make a move here. No, just brings it back in, keeps it nice and tidy. You can see how much wider he's going than Urquhart right now though, so you know he's definitely trying to keep as much straight line speed through the corner as he possibly can. Sorry, driving off the corner as he possibly can. A little bit shallower in through the chicane corkscrew as well. So you can see how many different lines these guys are taking to try and get speed out of it. Vandel's doing it really well.
Yeah, he's really diving that car down the corkscrew. Yeah, we saw Blake take a much wider line.
You can see him driving a lot straighter off the corner too compared to the likes of Urquhart. You can see him going a lot wider, a lot further. So he's making a move up the inside, not the covers.
Wasn't
that was
enough.
a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, Blake saw him. He's still going to go for it. He's not giving up.
Trying to duck down the inside now, not just sticking a nose in. Filling his mirrors, making sure he knows I'm coming for you, mate.
He may be
Now
testing
he's
him.
it up.
Yeah, he's got the line.
Goes up the inside now.
Contact.
Oi!
Big spin.
Oh, he's going to be dirty right now. See if he can try and just nose it into the wall a little bit. He's got trying to get the spin around.
Get it off the racing line. That could have been safety car for sure. That could have gone much worse for him.
Dropping down to about P8 now.
That's the
Just She's told me I'm being a little bit too loud and I should quiet down a little bit.
Banks getting a fantastic gap on Urquhart now, 4.1 seconds.
Varndell's just gone off the track at the end of the second to last corner too, so he's lost a little bit more time, but he doesn't look like he's dropped his position. He come out just in front of Josh Schultz, but there's next to no gap between them right now.
He did recover back up into 7th after dropping to 8th. So he's in a decent position where he's going to be able to recover a fair bit if he can be able to keep the car on the black stuff. They have no dramas trying to catch up to them.
Looks like Sam Tucker and Robbie Bradbury are having a really good battle right now. There's next to nothing between them. They're going nose to tail right through all of these fast left-handers, sorry. Going through the corkscrew now. Let's see how close they get here. Both a little bit wide compared to Varndell's line through there, but they're still making it work really well.
They're using every bit of track to try and keep that pace up there for Bradbury.
You can even see the different lines that they're taking now, just trying to get that little bit extra out of any part of the corner. Sometimes they might be taking a little bit extra speed in the corner entry. They might be going for a little bit more in mid-corner, but a lot of them, you'll see them trying to go a lot of straight line exit out of the corner so they can get a really good run up the straight.
Varndell needs to make another position here. As he's lined up along the inside of Troy Mortensen. Gets him at the hairpin. Bradbury's still trying to get past Sam Tucker.
Looks like Tucker's covering extremely well. He's not making it easy for Bradbury right now. See Bradbury just trying to go a little bit shallower, trying to get that inside line, but wasn't up far enough, so he ended up having a shallower run through the corner. He's lost a little bit of time now, but they're heading back through the corkscrew. Bradbury just went a little bit shallower into that corner, but he's still not too far behind. He can make a move any second if he can get close enough.
Stephen Banks is still pushing that gap. He's now got 4.8 seconds ahead of Blake. Jai heading into the pits at the moment, so he's the first to hit in.
Looks like in his battle with Bradbury, Tucker's starting to lose a little bit of gap to Urquhart in front of him. It went from like 1.5 seconds or something like that, and now it's down to about nearly 4 seconds, so he's starting to lose a bit on Blake.
Varndell looking to move up into 5th position. He's got Mark Cochran just ahead of him.
Making a hell of a clawback, isn't he? Got a 16.5 second gap to the leader in front of him now.
And for him to be spun around completely facing the opposite way and then even waiting for traffic to pass, that's been a spectacular comeback. It does actually look like he may have a little bit of damage to that front right.
I was just about to comment on that. It must have been from when he nosed it into the tyre wall when he was trying to flick it back around, but didn't end up doing so.
Ooh, a little bit of a tap.
Or it could be from that.
There's nothing there. He's basically got his front lip right under the rear of Cochran's car.
Definitely piling the pressure on now. He's going to move up the inside. Looks like he's going to make it stick. He's up well past him now.
Cochran probably keen to even let him get the run on him there, which is how much pressure he was putting on the rear there. might be able to jump back behind and return the same favour. Blake Urquhart dropped down into 4th position. Must have gone for a spin. So he's now only 2 seconds ahead of Sebastian Vandel. So the two now catching back up to each other. So that is a heck of a comeback by Vandel. Banks absolutely flying ahead now that Urquhart's dropped back. So it's 10.5 second race lead on the 10th lap.
Like Blake had a bit of a spin on the second to last corner. He dropped a little bit of a wheel off over the curb on that corner just past the corkscrew, and it just threw him into a spot. That's what we've been talking about all season with these cars. Absolutely every little bit gets you, unsettles the car massively. So looks like he's got a little bit of damage on the front. That might have been from his contact with Vandel earlier, sorry. But that was at the end of lap 10 that he had that bit of a spin.
Bradbury heading in for his pit now. So we are approaching the halfway mark. We've got 24 minutes remaining. We've also had James White and Jai Schultz already fit in.
Looks like we got a good battle between Peters and Schultz right now, and they're going side by side.
Schultz gets him in the hairpin. He runs a little wide, he's going to spin. Oh, he recovers that car.
But he had a massive inside line run to that corner, so that most likely slowed him down a fair bit, so that might be a good opportunity for Peters to catch back up. Looks like he's held that lead out a fair bit for the most part now though, so. Yeah, that gap's still growing out, so I don't think Peters will catch that one up very quickly.
Cross, not seeing too much traffic out there after having the start from pit lane. He's currently 2 laps down. He's unfortunate because he did do well in both the practice and the qualifying. So to have some sort of technical issue go on before the start of the race, very unfortunate.
Yeah, it said he was disconnected due to upload, so it's really disappointing for him. He'll probably be spewing about that, but as long as he finishes the race and doesn't quit out, he could still make up a couple positions from people who hit a wall or something like that and they just spin it too hard.
Definitely. Only a short while into the race, nearing that halfway point. Anything can happen still. It's going to take the tiniest of a mistake at Laguna Seca and it can be over in the blink of an eye.
It's definitely right. Now we're starting to get to the stage where we're seeing drivers actually start making mistakes, so a lot of the people will probably feel, a lot of these drivers will probably be feeling pretty tired at this point, so they're just trying to hope that they can get it to the finish without spinning too much, but there's a lot of gap on this field right now. But Peters is having a spin, he's going straight through the corkscrew. Nearly had a spin, I should say.
Managed to recover that. That's going to allow Cross to be able to recover a spot. He's going to try to unlap himself as much as possible. So those little opportunities are going to be fantastic for him to try and make up for that disconnect.
At this point, he's probably not even worrying about position. He's just trying to have a good time and pass as many people as he can, because he knows he probably knows at this point, realistically, he's not going to get a really good position out of this, starting with a lap down. So he's just probably having it all out there, just trying to get past as many people as he can, just feeling good about doing it.
That's it. It does look like he's actually made up a lap as well. So he was 2 laps behind race lead, that's now down to 1 lap. It's just teetering on that gap. The Banks still pulling ahead Sam Tucker dropping out of position 2. He's been in and pit. So that's allowed Blake to move back up into position 2. Vandel recovered back up into P3. Now only 14 seconds away from race leader Stephen Banks. Gallagher, we did want to try and do that, but much more difficult being on PS4. So we're quite lucky at the moment, so Ryan actually able to completely see the race, look at his own data. It's a little bit more tricky doing that on the console. Vandel, Blake's now in his sights. Should probably see our leaders start to look at considering heading into the pits. So across the halfway point. It's usually seen around the 15 minutes remaining where they start peeling off to the pits. In round 1 it was a little bit of a factor of tyre wear that they were getting fairly close to scrubbing them out. Laguna Seca, that could definitely be the case that they're going to be a little bit more worn out. So we may see some tyre changes occur. Banks heads off into the pits. Burkhart and Vandel both stay out on track. Banks is going to have a nice quick stop. So you can try and hold on to that gap and recover those positions when Vandel and Urquhart both peel off into the pits. See Banks absolutely flying out of pit lane. Ran to the track in P4. Only a second behind Mark Cochran, who'll also need to head off into the pits in these coming laps.
These two boys in P1 and 2 right now, probably trying to squeeze as much out of these tanks as they can, try and make it as light as possible, because they know with lightness comes a lot of speed. So that's probably what they're trying to do now. They're trying to get as much time in front of, in front of Banks right now to try and just keep that lead going, try and get as close as they can to him.
Oh, Urquhart goes off, drops a tyre. He's trying to break that slipstream. So it really looks like Vandel's not really pushing too much and he's just tucking in behind. He has done this before. He does tend to sit in and fuel conserve. He can get an extra lap out on track compared to the others. It really makes an advantage to him.
What he could also be doing is he's just trying to force himself into his mirrors as much as he can, try and force Urquhart into a mistake. So it makes it really easy for him to pass. Because last time they tried to pass, remember, he got spun off. So he's probably trying to avoid that as much as he can. So he's trying to fill the mirrors as much as he can. You can see even Urquhart covering right now, so he's trying to fill those mirrors, make sure he knows, mate, I'm coming, and I'm coming for you.
Becoming a pest in those mirrors. And he's very quick down that corkscrew. He gets a brilliant line. He makes up so much ground each lap down that section. Look at him right on the tail of Urquhart now.
Going up the inside. Stuck a nose in.
Oh, he's hit the curb. Up on 2 wheels. That's cost him.
Pretty alright at the moment though, but Urquhart's just peeling into the pits now. But Varnell's staying out, so he's going to try and put his best of the lap in as he can to try and beat Urquhart out of the pits, because it looked like Urquhart was starting to hold him up and he doesn't want to stay behind him forever.
Nice, he's got open track ahead now. Throw up the lap timer for him. Pretty sure he's probably going to stay out for a full hot lap before heading into the pits.
Looks like Urquhart's starting to rejoin in P4. He might lose a position here, might drop him down to P5, but it looks like he's got P4 pretty handy right now. Might go side by side and pit exit. Nah, he's got it.
He only just gets out ahead of Robbie Bradbury. Bradbury has also pit, so they are currently racing for position. Some lap traffic. That lap of 1:21.420. We're seeing pretty much qualifying lap time there.
Buckland's just let him through. He's listening to the radio chatter. Buckland was just going, "Come on, mate, you can do this. Just pop up through, pop up past me. I'll let you through, mate." Really good sportsmanship from lap cars in this league.
Yeah, they are fantastic.
You can see though he's still absolutely flogging it. Going to the maximum amount of curves that he can go. He's going to the end of the curve. So he's trying to squeeze as much out of this as he can. You can see him kicking up dust everywhere he goes. So he's absolutely flying to try and keep his position in front of Urquhart.
So we've been seeing about 11.5 seconds as the average for pit stops. Barndell's currently got 19.2 seconds, and here he comes into the pits now.
He'll be watching his relative the entire way through here. Make sure he can try and get out as close as he can, if not in front of Urquhart, because he's fired up.
Banks having pit. Sebastian's only just pulled up to his pit box now.
Banks is starting, he's just gone past him now, so Banks is well ahead of him. Let's see where Urquhart comes out. Yeah, he's just gone past now too, so it's just in the favour of Urquhart. He must have got a quick, little bit quicker pit stop or something like that, but he's just in front.
Yeah, 12.5 second stop for Varndell. Urquhart had a 11.8 second stop.
Must have taken on a little bit more fuel just to make sure he could get to the end. But it could be some of these drivers might be using Crew Chief too, so with Crew Chief you can actually set it up to put in the exact amount of fuel based off the average fuel consumption to get you to the end, so maybe
some of these drivers also cutting it very fine to the end as well. So maybe Varndell going a little bit of extra splash could mean he might have to conserve towards that back end.
Yeah, you can see straight away, yes, having an empty fuel load does make a difference in terms of lap time, but if you've got to save some of that fuel, that's going to make a hell of a lot more difference than having a little bit more fuel on to get you to the end.
Banks now leading by 7.7 seconds. Hey, cool boy, thanks for joining the stream, mate. And yes, we do have co-commentators. We've got Ryan. So he usually drives, but wanted to have a jump into the commentary box and give it a go. So it's been good to have someone else to talk to in here. So we've had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, missed Ryan last week with some tech issues.
Telstra's not very happy in my bedroom. Got to go to Elon Musk. Looks like the gap between Urquhart and Varndell's about 1.5 seconds. So you can see he's definitely trying to close it as much as he can, even with a little bit longer pit stop. He's going to be flogging the absolute daylights out of this car.
And it's quite interesting too. The fastest lap of the race is a 1:21.420, and it's the exact same time. We've got two drivers that are holding that. And that's Blake Urquhart and Sebastian Varndell.
Would that mean they both get the fastest lap points, or they split? Oh,
He's going off.
Might not have lost a huge amount of position there though. Definitely would have lost some, but might not be as catastrophic as we might have thought. Doesn't look like he's hit a wall or anything like that. But it looks like he's actually gained on the leader even after going off track, so looks like he's closing in.
So we've got 8.5 minutes remaining. Current standings as at lap 22, we have Damien Cross in position 12, Philip Buckland in P11, Nathan Peters in position 10, Troy Mortensen in 9th, David White in 8th position, Cochran in 7th, Sam Tucker in 6th position, Jay Schultz running 5th, Robbie Bradbury up in 4th, Sebastian Varndell coming 3rd, Blake Urquhart in P2, and our race leader Stephen Banks run lap 23. Banks has led for 18 laps.
Nathan Peters at the end of lap 22, he had a bit of a spin just after the corkscrew. He didn't see Robbie Bradbury coming, so he started to come back out the track, and there was literally millimetres between him and Bradbury going through there. Bradbury's just said he's got to go into the pits for a new set of undies.
We'll see if we can go back and see that on the replay. He did have quite the spin. A little bit of contact. Gets that car off the line. Oh, that is very close. Very fine gap between Peters and Bradbury.
Sam Tucker's just had an off too. Start of lap 24, he was trying to get around Philip Buckland, and he just went a bit wide, and it's sent him sideways. So he's gone off the track. He's not very happy over the radio at the moment. Probably lost by the looks 5-10 seconds there, so he'll be fuming.
Back and see what happened. Sam Tucker. To go slightly wide and then ran that tyre off. Nearly reversing out into Cochran.
you have a look quickly at the end of lap 24, start of lap 25 on that opening straight, you'll see Phillip just backing off a bit to let Tucker pass because he's caught back up to him again, but Tucker just gave him a bit of a swerve at him to make sure he knew that he wasn't very happy. If they could see each other right now, you could be sure that Tucker would be flicking him the bird.
It was very close indeed. A bit of blinking going on with Banks. He's only got 6-second lead now. There's 4.5 minutes remaining.
Josh Schultz has just disconnected too, so he must have had to go somewhere because it looks like he's manually cut out. Unless he's crashed, of course.
Yeah, it might have been a tow, I think.
Yeah, it looks like he's exited the session.
Let's see. Went on for him for jumping out if we can actually catch him. I'll speed that up before it goes. We will lose a tad bit of audio. Let's add it on scenic.
It looks like he went into the pits at the end of lap 25. He just went in there and disconnected. So it looks like a respectful disconnect, like he had somewhere to be.
Yeah, we did have to do that last week as well. Yeah, parked him up. Fortunate. It's good that he remains out on track and brings it back into the pits if he doesn't have to do that. Not pulling up on the racing line or off track, causing a local yellow to go up.
Looks like they're closing in on the final couple minutes of this. Varndell is still catching Card a little bit. It was a 2-second gap exactly before, and now it's down to about 1.6, 1.5 seconds. So he's closing in as quickly as he can. He might start to be feeling a little bit deflated right now, like he doesn't think he'll be able to do it. But he's going to force as much out of the car as he possibly can. You can be sure of that. From the leader, it goes Urquhart with a 5.1 second gap, then Varndell 6.7 seconds, followed by Bradbury with 12.4 seconds, and then Sam Tuck with 47.8 second gap.
A gap between Urquhart and Banks starting to be reined in. It's going from 6 seconds down to 4. He's about a second quicker on that last lap. 122.2 by Banks and 121.2 by Urquhart.
And Varndell's just closed in another 0.5 of a second, so you know he's coming quick.
And it looks like that tie on the fastest lap has been broken. Urquhart's last lap of 121.2. The fastest lap before was a 121.420.
Varndell squeezing absolutely every little bit out of these track limits. He's forcing it as wide as he can get it. Starting to cut the corkscrew again just a little bit to give him an extra couple, or not a couple tenths, maybe a tenth or a couple hundredths. But every little bit of time matters at this point of the race because he's closing and he wants to get as much gap down as he possibly can. Look at the gap as he crosses the line, but he's getting pretty close by now.
And this will be last lap as well. We'll see the white flag come up in a moment. There's only 43 seconds remaining. Banks just crossing the control line.
Urquhart starting to cover all the way up the straight. He was going to the sides to try and break the toe as much as he can. But there's not much between these two right now.
Urquhart went slightly wide on that corner exit, dropped the tyre off.
So did Varndell. Banks will be happy right now. It looks like Urquhart's closing in a little bit, but that could just be Banks backing off a little bit just to enjoy the rest of the race and make sure he gets to the finish right.
Yeah, and he knows it's the last lap. There we go, well, white flag up. Only a few more corners to go, and he can take the checkered flag home. All the guys have been pretty keen to try and get a win over Sebastian. He's been a force to be reckoned with. That's still the case even with taking a podium. He's on P3 and he's almost going to be able to get Urquhart potentially on the final corner. Not quite enough. Bates takes the checkers, Urquhart in P2 and Vandel in P3. He's not even slowing down for the parade lap, he's going to keep going for it.
Doesn't quite look too happy with himself. He's probably dirty with that spin between him and Urquhart at the start of the race.
Yeah, to recover back into P3 like that after dropping down to 8th, that's a spectacular comeback.
Especially considering Urquhart did pretty well the exact same thing. Didn't quite have contact. He spun on his own just by dropping a tyre off, but he still backed himself down to P4. I think he went down to, but he's made his way back up quite nicely.
So after Bradbury in P4, Sam Tucker takes 5th, followed by Mark Cochran in 6th. And then with Jai Schultz retiring, Damon Cross just coming up the control line. That'll see him in P11. James White crosses the line in position 7.
Last drivers are just starting
Nathan
to
Peters currently upside down.
Oi,
Don't know what he's done there. He's having some fun after the race end.
I wonder how he did that.
It's
he
quite an
smashed the
interesting.
tyre barrier. He decided not to brake going into the hip and he just went full ball into the tyre barrier.
There we are, we'll bring up results now. So results after 29 laps, we have victory going to Stephen Banks at the top of the podium, and then also on that podium we have Blake Urquhart in P2 and Sebastian Vandel in P3, and then the rest of the standings we have Robbie Bradbury, Sam Tucker, Mark Cochran, James White, Troy Mortensen, Nathan Peters, Philip Buckland, Damien Cross and Jai Schultz. So we'll jump over and I'll let the guys in, so we'll jump channel as that happens, so we'll probably both go silent. Congratulations guys, great win there Stephen.
It was good fun, good race, and thankfully it was pretty clean up front for me, so made it nice and easy.
Had a very good run and a nice few exchanges for that race lead in those first few laps as well.
Yeah, no, that was Seb surprised me on one, but I think he could fit a car up there when he got the car up there, and so I tried to return the back in the corkscrew and got that done, and then I looked in the rear view mirror and it looked like it was all on, so yeah, much better to be up front for that one.
Yeah, definitely. It was pretty gutsy. You did see that move in the corkscrew. Not too many passes can be done there and pulled off nicely. So, yeah, brilliant pass there.
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
And congratulations, Blake.
Yeah, cheers, mate. That race was good fun. That was fun. I had no practice this week, so to turn up and did what I did and race with Stephen and Sebastian, that was good fun.
Yeah, it looked like you and Seb were having a good amount of fun there, going door to door and a little bit of rubbing.
Oh yeah, you gotta love that. It's not racing if you're not rubbing.
And a very close there for that incident as well. Sebastian going for that spin, end up facing the other way to drop down to 8th and then claw your way back up into P3 and to be not too far behind race leads. A good comeback, mate.
Yeah, it was an alright race. I just hit the curb and feed into Blake, so that was my fault, but I don't know what that was in the corkscrew, just, yeah, I was getting held up or something, I don't know.
It's still fantastic drive. So how did you end up doing a little bit more time in the pit stop as well, so you're almost going to come out potentially just side by side with Blake, but it was about an extra half a second longer in the pits, so we're wondering if you might have been going that little bit extra fuel potentially.
Yeah, I know I had the pace, so I just put a bit of extra fuel in to be safe, because crew chief stuffed me over a couple of times.
Yeah, we were talking about that, thinking that might have been the case. So how was tyre wear for the race, guys? Was it pretty scrubby by the end of the race, being at Laguna Seca with just how tight it is?
I thought it was alright. I didn't check the tyres, but
They, yeah, didn't change tyres at the pits, and it was pretty. Once they got off that new stage, it was out. Yeah, it was pretty even, so not too bad at all. Hey, Sebi, I just remembered what happened in that corkscrew too. When I passed you, I accidentally hit my speed limit up. That's why it was like I was. No, I wasn't trying to hold you up or anything.
Not a brake check, just a pit limiter check.
Yeah, pit limiter check. It's a new one. It's a bit harder because you can't see the lights.
Because you knew you wouldn't speed.
Yeah, true. So, yeah, sorry, Seb.
And how you all feeling? Are you a bit sweaty after that?
Yeah, it was a pretty tough race. Not too bad, really. Not really sweaty. I don't really sweat during races.
yeah, I've got a bit of hair going. I have the fan blowing on me, so yeah, I'm alright. Not too bad. I have that cool suits on.
Yeah,
No.
straw.
Just buy a bag of ice from the servo and chuck it behind your seat.
That's it, that's all you can do, mate.
Might have to try that one.
Yeah, no, congratulations, guys. Fantastic driving out there yet again. So I'll be looking forward to seeing it all be done again next week. So we've got Charlotte Motor Speedway road course, so it'll be a good one to see.
Yeah, it should be good fun in these cars. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, congratulations.
You boys will have to get a lot more practice in, try and get it a lot more closer, and makes it much more entertaining for us.
I'm sure we can all practice this week and practice door to door.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, cheers JT and Ryan, and yeah, see you next week.
Yeah. Will do.
Thanks,
Yeah,
you guys.
See you then.
Yeah, congrats, guys.
Cheers. See ya.
And thanks very much, Ryan, and we'll be seeing you next week as well.
Sounds good. I'll definitely try to be.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks very much.
No worries, thank you.
So there we have our podium finishes. Stephen Banks taking victory in round 3, followed by Blake Urquhart in P2 and Sebastian Varndell in P3. And then next week for round 4, we're at Charlotte Motor Speedway 2008 version road course. It's a fantastic track there, so we should be able to see a fair bit of speed getting done in these Porsches, and a few nice little technical sections as well. So not making it easy completely for these guys in these Porsche 911s. So yeah, don't forget to hit that follow button if you haven't done so, because we'll be live again at 7:30 PM on Monday for the Porsche 911 Championship on iRacing. And then we've also got more Porsche action with the Porsche Cayman Cup on Project Cars 2 this Thursday night. Same time, 7:30 PM Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Thanks for tuning in for the race, and hope to see you trackside next time.